Hi there, Mandeep Malik again, Associate Professor Marketing. I'm with Akram today, a graduate of the Grad School of Business from 2008. Hi,
Right.
Aki.
How's it going, Mandeep?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Just
Thank you. Thank you for making time.
I had to like clear my calendar and stay home for you. Anytime, anything for you, Malik.
Well, we are living in interesting times, and I recall you graduated during a recession too.
That's right. I graduated in 2008. It was I got the tail. What was it? It was 2007, end of 2007, beginning of 2008, where things were getting really bad. And I remember, um, I fully remember us sitting in class, and the dollar was at par with the U.S. And the big thing in 2000, end of 2007 and 2008, was that Canadians were going to the U.S. to buy cars. For that headline, and I remember a few profs actually going and buying cars. One of them being a Lincoln Navigator that would cost a fortune here, but went across the border and bought it. But yeah, it was challenging times. Definitely not the same as this. I think this is a completely different, a completely different sense when it comes to challenging. I think back then it was more of the markets being hit hard. People still were employed. I mean, unemployment did go up, but people were still employed. But versus this one where there's just mass layoffs and mass furloughs, and it's definitely taken a toll. But I say that things are slowly turning around.
So take me back to 2004 when you decided to come to Grad. Why did you pick Grad?
Why did I pick the Grad? Okay, actually, I'm going to take you a year prior to that, or 2 years prior to that. So throughout high school, I was really good with math. Like even in yeah, I was really good at math. Even in elementary school, like I remember, I was so good that they put me in the enhanced program, and like my whole thought process was like, okay, Aki, you're going into engineering. And grade 9, 10, and 11, I was killing it in math, killing it in like the calculus classes and the algebra. And then grade 12 comes along, and for whatever reason, algebra was just not sticking. Like I remember I was averaging probably like a 62% going into the halfway of the year. And I remember having a conversation with my brother, who was at the time at Mac as an engineer. And I told him, I was like, hey, I don't get this. And he goes, and I remember the words, he goes, Aki, if you don't get this now, you're not going to get it in university. And that kind of changed my mindset. I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? So brainstorms like a couple of things that I enjoyed and careers that I could see myself doing. And I remember having a conversation with my guidance counselor, and he told me, he's like, hey, have you ever considered going into business? I was like, I've never taken a business course. And my year was, I'm probably aging myself here, but my year was the double cohort year, where it was grade 12 and 13. So I was grade 12. So he told me, how about you drop physics second semester, since you're not going into engineering anymore, and pick up OAC economics. I was like, okay. So first business class ever to take, I'm taking like the last class. Loved it. Loved economics. I was like, this is great. This is cool. This is exactly what I want to see myself doing, is going into business. So I came back for a semester. I took data management, and then I took like tech and like family studies. It was the best average of my 4 years of university, or 4.5 years of university. And then I got to Mac. I've always wanted to go to Mac. I've always loved the campus. I've always loved what they offered. And the Grad was, I had a few friends older than me who went to Grad, and they kind of vouched me to go into the program. So went into this program not knowing anything about marketing. Went into this program taking just economics, and you know I'm of Egyptian background, and typically you're either an engineer, a doctor, or a pharmacist, and if you're none of these three, you're technically a failure, but you could also be an accountant. So I walked in, I was like, okay, I'm going to go into accounting, and as you know, first year of undergrad is kind of general, where you have the 5 required classes and the 5 electives. I remember taking Rita Costa. Does Rita Costa still teach the class?
She does, yes.
Okay, so I took Rita Costa's class second semester, and I don't know if she still does the proposal or whatever that case thing is, And I remember I submitted it and I got it back and I got a -6%. And I had a panic attack and I was like, man, I'm not even going to make it through the first year. But I survived. And then second year, that's when we kind of got a scope of all the classes. So it was 9 required classes and 1 electives, and you get to see everything. You get to see marketing, finance, HR, accounting. And again, I'm still going in with the mindset that I want to do accounting. And I remember taking financial accounting, one of the worst classes I've ever taken. So I was like, okay, we're definitely not doing accounting. I had already taken economics out of the picture because of first year university. Knowing that I was good with numbers, I said, okay, well, finance is still an option here. And then marketing just grew on me. There was like, I think it was one of the classes, again, I took a Rita Costa class, and then there was just more and more of like the creative side of me was coming out. And I was like, you know what, there's a lot of fun things that this marketing side of business does. And I think this is something that I can see myself being part of. So then third year, that's where I started focusing of like, okay, more marketing classes, but still taking the finance classes. And then in the fourth year, same thing, marketing classes and finance classes. But I was very fortunate between third year and fourth year. I landed a job at Maple Leaf as a financial analyst. It was a summer job. It was, I applied to it. Does Mugsy still exist?
In a different form, yes.
In a different form. So I applied to it through Mugsy. And I managed to get the job, and it was a May to September or a May to August timeframe. Truth be told, I was a summer student, so I did a lot of photocopying. I did learn some of the business, but it wasn't necessarily really ingraining myself into finance, but it was kind of a foot in the door, which was great for me. And then came fourth year, took all the classes again, and it was this point where I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to major, and I say major because Grad at that time didn't necessarily have the major or minor, but if you went the accounting stream, you would get all the accounting credits. But I told myself that I'm going to take more of the marketing classes and less of the finance classes because I really enjoy this. And then April 2008 came around, had my exams, and I was starting to apply. Actually, I was probably starting to apply before that. And I was kept applying for the marketing roles, kept applying the marketing roles. I was applying more. I wasn't necessarily applying on the agency side, but I was applying to more on the CPG side, and nothing was coming. And then I had a friend of mine who was a recruiter at Robert Half, and I had sent my resume to him, and he called me back and he's like, hey, I can get you an interview at Loblaws. I'm like, great, for what? He's like, finance. I was like, you know what? Like at this point, I think working at Loblaws would be great, even if I got myself into finance. Because at that time, Loblaws was really, really big on President's Choice and Blue Menu and advertising on TV and their insiders reports. I was like, okay, I can see myself hopefully moving from finance into marketing. So 7 interviews later, which was ridiculous considering that I was a student at a university, I landed a job. So I landed a job and it was finance supporting the produce business unit. So very heavy on budgets and forecasting and LE and understanding the different categories and forecasting the budget across the 52 weeks, across the different banners, across the different categories. And it was great foundation to learning the business. And I think in general, just understanding how finance works and understanding how ROI and understanding what the cost of doing a campaign in a company is, I think works to your advantage in the long run. So I remember doing that for about 2 years in. I had a conversation with my boss and I'm like, hey, Darren, I'm like, listen, I was like, finance isn't great and this is a phenomenal company, but you know, like I took marketing in university and like, I want to do marketing. I want to do marketing, especially for a company like Loblaws. Like this place is endless. And he's like, okay, let's see what we can do. And then there was a reshuffle in organization. And then they moved me from finance supporting produce to finance supporting the brand side. So still on the finance side, but I kind of got to taste what marketing in a big retail company would be like. And it was great. And that was kind of like my introduction to understanding how marketing and finance can work together when you're putting something on TV, how marketing and finance can work together when you're launching a new product line, when you're working with flyers. So again, very, very informative, but it still wasn't full marketing. And then I remember it towards the end of 2011 together in 2012. I'm like, okay, let's start seeing what else is out there. And Target was coming into town. And I mean, Target in the US is like the place to be. And everyone wanted to be at Target in Canada. So I remember applying, and I applied to a finance role. And fortunately, they came back after my interviews and said, hey, we're going to go a different direction. I'm like, that's okay. That's not a big deal. And then I applied to another role at Walmart. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think the role was like senior financial analyst. It was also a finance role that applied to Walmart. And then HR called me back and said, hey, unfortunately, we filled this role, but we have this in-store experience marketing manager role. Would you be interested in it? And I told them, I was like, you know what, funny enough, I saw this role, but I didn't apply to it because I didn't think I had the right credentials. And that one was 6 interviews later. I managed to score that job. So completely different field, something brand new that I've never done before. But what it was Walmart saw my personality versus my experience and said, sure, this guy's got finance background and it's great, but we can see this guy fitting in the industry. We can see this guy fitting in this role in this company and being part of a larger team. Do you want to keep going? You just tell me when to stop.
Yes, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about your time at Loblaws, right? I know you would have been deep with numbers. That gave you a good foundation for a start in marketing. Marketing was always drawing you towards it. But what was it like in your first job in a role that you did not necessarily desire? You wanted a job in marketing, but you ended up in finance. How did you reconcile with that?
Akram, you're working for Loblaws. Akram, you're working for Loblaws. So it's not like a little mom and pop organization. Not to say that there's anything wrong with working for a little mom and pop organization, but the way that I sold it to myself is like, you're not limited to just finance at Loblaws. You have all the opportunities at Loblaws. And I think more, like I've seen it with a lot of my friends where they've pivoted and they've changed careers, not by going back to school. I mean, you can definitely do that when you go back to school, but they've changed their careers within the organization. And what something like Loblaws, with the advantage of working with someone like, the advantage of working at a place like Loblaws is you get finance, you get marketing, you get supply chain, you get IT, you get merchandising. So the opportunity to jump from one role to the other happens quite often. And that's how I told myself. I was like, and you know what, at that point it was probably 3 months into looking for a job and nothing was coming my way. And I was like, and it wasn't that I was getting desperate, but at the same time, I was like, well, I can continue to do this, or I can take this opportunity, get that foundation, understand the business from a completely different side, learn something that might not necessarily be of interest to me, but I know is going to be an advantage to me. And then, 1 year, 2 years down the road, we'll reevaluate what is it that I really want to do. Because I've seen other people where, they've taken a job where it wasn't what they wanted, and then they ended up staying there because they loved it, right? So I could have come back and told you that, you know what, maybe finance was the thing that I wanted to do, but it wasn't for me personally.
So, having spent 4 years in finance, that becoming your area of expertise, if I can say so, and you move out of finance into marketing, how easy or how hard was that? Because you're moving from Loblaws to Walmart, but you're also moving from the functional area of finance into marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was exciting. And that's how I saw it. I saw it as like, this is a new opportunity and this is a clean start. So just like I graduated from university and started a new job, not knowing anything, I looked at it as like, I'm leaving an organization and I'm starting with a new organization and it's a clean slate. And the way that I saw it is that if the people who hired me see the potential in me in learning the business and learning what the role entails, then nothing is really stopping me from it. There was definitely challenges. There were things that I didn't even know existed. Like, and truth be told, when I took on the role, I was like, I had a thought of what this role was going to be and what I was going to do, and it was completely different. I was working with from a larger marketing team. I was working with the flyer side. I was working with online. I was working with the vendors. I was working with print. I was working with category managers. That stuff that I didn't even have an idea existed beforehand. But my approach was, go head on, understand, learn, adapt. And you know what, if this is what you want to do and if this is the career that you want to do, then phenomenal, keep going at it. And I'll say this is that even within finance, there's different pillars within finance. And it's the same thing with marketing, right? Like, this was an in-store marketing experience role. My next role after that was brand communication. And that was something that I've never done in my life. So it was just the approach of like, this is new, this is exciting, enjoy it.
Wonderful. And what were some of the stark differences you saw working for a Canadian company versus an American company?
I think I was fortunate with, so I went Loblaws and then I went Walmart, and then after Walmart I went to Mattel. So Mattel and Walmart being US or companies, I was fortunate enough where we had autonomy here in Canada, where I was able to do my own thing in terms of a marketing campaign or lifting and landing components. But what I'll say is that the biggest challenge was, especially with Walmart, you couldn't get as creative as you wanted to, because at the end of the day, we rolled into Walmart US. There were ideologies that it was the Walmart way in the US, and if it's the Walmart way in the US, then it's a Walmart way everywhere around the globe. So I think those were kind of the struggles. But as I mentioned, like when I worked at Mattel Canada, I had the opportunity where I can lift and land things. I had the opportunity to localize my own programs. I know there's other global companies that don't necessarily give you that. So for example, Apple. You walk into an Apple store in Canada and you walk into an Apple store in Japan, they're identical. But you walk into a Walmart store in Canada and you walk into a Walmart store in the US, there's difference. So I was fortunate where we were able to understand that the Canadian market and the US market are very different, and that you need to cater to their needs.
So, when I look back at your Loblaws experience, if I remember correctly, you moved from financial analyst to marketing analyst.
Yep.
And what were some of the differences in those two roles? Also, a related question, did you seek out the marketing analyst role, or did it come your way?
Got it. So first question, what was the difference between the financial analyst and the marketing analyst? There was still reporting. So there was still you were still doing the weekly reports, you were doing the quarterly reports, year ends, all that kind of stuff. The one big difference, or the one big change between the two, I would say, is that with the financial analyst on the produce side, you're strictly focused on how does the business make money from a budget perspective. How are we allocating the money to drive the business from a finance perspective? We're not looking at marketing, we're not looking at ads, we're not looking at promotions. Versus when I moved over to the marketing analyst role, it was, how is the marketing spend helping drive the business from a marketing and financial standpoint? So if we're running TV, what's the uplift that we're seeing with this one product? So for example, if we're running a PC Insider report, and on the TV, if we're running a PC Insider TV spot, and on that TV spot, we've got the decadent cookies, and we're running that TV spot for 8 weeks. Are we seeing the decadent cookies week after week going up, or are we seeing it flat, or are we just seeing no change, or we're seeing decrease? So that was the kind of difference that I was doing from the financial analyst role to the marketing analyst role. I was still analyzing, but I was analyzing the marketing data, which to me at that point was also very exciting, because it kind of gave me the glimpse of like, oh, so this is what we do from a marketing standpoint. This is when we're investing money, what kind of return you're expecting to see. So.
And is this a role that you wanted, you sought out yourself given your interest in marketing?
My thought, or the role that I was, or the roles that I was looking for, I was looking to get into marketing.
Okay.
Moving from a financial analyst role to like a marketing role, like a brand marketing or a marketing communication role, that was very difficult, or at least I struggled with it
So
personally.
you use this as a stepping stone,
Correct.
financial analyst to marketing analyst.
Correct. So it was my way of like leaving the produce department supporting finance and moving to the marketing department and supporting finance. So then that way, what I'm seeing, or the way that I'm envisioning it, is now I'm surrounded by marketing people. Like I'm supporting the marketing guy who's doing PC Insider, and we're supporting the guy who's doing Black Label. I'm supporting the guy who's doing PC Blue Menu. So they know who I am. They see Akram doing it from an analytical standpoint. You know what? This guy's got his foot in the door for marketing. Hopefully a year or two down the road, we can get him into a brand marketing role or a product marketing role, because he understands how finance works. He understands what gross margin means and what net gross margin is and what a contribution is. And so that was my way of like getting myself into it.
And then coming into Walmart, where your role was completely different. It had a focus on in-store customer experience.
Correct.
What was that like? What were your key deliverables as an in-store marketing manager?
So twofold. The way that you look at it is how do you build the customer experience, the shopping customer experience when you're in the store. So if you walk into a Walmart store, there aren't as many associates as a Loblaws store, for example, or a Metro. So my role and my responsibility is how do you A, make the shopper experience enjoyable, and B, help them understand and educate them through the process. While in that role, I was working on, call it, two different sides of the business. I was working on the corporate side and then on the vendor side. Corporate side being, what's the type of messaging that we're going to be implementing in store that we're going to drive business. So think of rollback, back to school, Christmas, Halloween. That was corporately the messaging that I would work on to help get the customer to enjoy the experience and enjoy the brands that we sell in store. And then from a vendor standpoint, it was working with them to get their products into the store with the category managers. And then again, because we don't have associates, it's helping them understand how to shop. And this could be anything from, from planograms to in-store setups to like a shop and shop. So if you go to the toy department and you see the Lego aisle, we've got a Lego store within Walmart. So as if you're in an actual Lego store, like similar to the ones in Vaughan Mills. Very, very different. But again, by doing that, when I was doing it, it's resorting back to like, okay, so we're going to spend X amount of dollars. Does it make sense to spend this kind of money? Does it make sense to build this kind of program across all the stores? Or do we want to test it out in one store or two stores that have a high traffic, that the demographic makes sense, and then roll it out to all stores? Again, that's what I'm saying. When working in finance at first, it was great foundation, because in the back of your mind, as creative as you want to be, you're thinking from a money perspective that you just don't want to blow up money.
Okay, so changing track for just a couple of minutes, quite early on, 3 or 4 years into your first job, I recall you decided to pursue an MBA.
Yeah.
What brought that on?
I always told myself that I would go back to get my master's, not just to get those 3 extra letters at the end of my name, more because I wanted to continue learning and I wanted to continue evolving my personal brand, right? So the MBA to me was, and I intentionally did it part-time because I wanted to take my learnings while I was working, and I wanted to take my learnings while I was in school and apply them to each other. And actually in my last semester of my master's, I ended up writing a thesis with my brand communication professor about the path to purchase at Walmart. So I took my learnings from that class, applied to the store, took my learnings from the store, applied it to the class, and then I presented it to the CMO. So my reasoning was like, I wanted to continue learning, and I wanted to do it early enough in my career, early enough in my life that I wasn't too deep in like personal life. And like, I did the class with folks who were married and who got kids and stuff, and that was difficult. So that was something that I kept in the back of my mind, is that I wanted to do it not too long after I graduated, but not right after I graduated. I wanted to give myself a bit of leeway while my mind was still fresh. And I didn't want to do it full time, because I learned so much in those 3 and a bit years while I was doing it part-time, where I was taking my work experience and applying it in class, and taking my class experience and applying it at work. I think that's very, very important. Not to say for those who do it out of class, or to do their MBA right out of school is a wrong thing, but my recommendation or my suggestion is go get that real life work experience so that you can apply the learnings and the teachings to both aspects.
Okay, so you finish your MBA, you get formidable experience at Walmart, and you combine the two and make a jump to Mattel. How did that come about?
So my jump from Walmart to Mattel actually happened. So there was a huge restructure at Walmart in the end of 2014. They had laid off about 250 people, and we thought that was the end of it. But unfortunately, as the months kept going on and on, there were more individuals that were affected, and I was one of them. So that happened August 21st, 2015. And I remember this was my first time being laid off. I didn't know what to expect or anything, but I told myself, you know what, I'm sure I'm not the first, and this happens to many others. So it happened on a Thursday. Friday, I went to the dentist so I can kill my benefits. And then the weekend, just hung out with my friends, and I left to Cuba on Monday for my friend's bachelor party. The timing just worked perfectly. Came back on Friday, and then there was another weekend of birthdays, and then it was the Monday. So it was a Monday, so like I'll call it a week and a half later. I sat down on my laptop, and I call up one who's a recruiter, and said, "Hey," I was like, I got laid off at Walmart. What do I do? Like, how do I set up my resume? And she told me, she was like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, this happens to everyone. You know, you just got to be honest. So like, you know, change the date and do this and do that. And I'm like, okay, great. And then she told me, she's like, hey, I've got this role at Mattel. Would you be interested in it? It's a contract role. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm in a position right now where I'm not going to say that beggars can't be choosers, but like, if it's a good opportunity, yeah, why not? And I told them, I was like, I actually worked with Mattel as one of my vendors at Walmart, so I feel like they would vouch for me. And I'm going to say this to whoever is going to end up watching this video: whatever you do, do never, ever, ever burn your bridges, and always treat whoever it is, whether they're people internally or externally, with respect. And especially if you're working from on a side where you're dealing with vendors, give them the utmost respect, because as soon as you're in a position where you don't have a job, those are the people that you're going to reach out to first, and those are the people that are going to help you. So so I told them, like, I feel like they're vouched for me. She called me back. She's like, I can get you an interview for Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like, let's do Thursday. If I can get some time to prep. And went in for my interview. And then she called me back later that day, and she said, well, I don't know what you said in that interview, but not only do they want to offer you the job, they want to offer it to you full time. So I was in a position where I was very fortunate that I had that relationship with them, and they saw my experience and my interaction with them from my days at Walmart. And similar to my transition from Loblaws to Walmart, this was a completely new role. Yes, it was marketing, but it was brand communication, something that I've never done before. I've never bought media. I've never worked with agencies. I've never done PR. Social and digital was something that I knew of, but I never understood or never got myself into. So again, this was an opportunity where they saw a fit. They saw my experiences from an in-store experience. They saw my experiences from a finance and said, hey, these are two good backgrounds that can work very well in this role.
So, you know, you're 7 years into your career, you're going into a new job, and you have never done that before. No. Were you nervous? Were you excited?
I was very excited. I was very excited because I was working, when I got hired, I was hired to be on the Barbie desk, as weird as that sounds, but a very, very obviously a prominent brand. But I was also very nervous because they had very high expectations. Barbie was on a turnaround year that year, where sales were plummeting, and the brand awareness and the brand recognition wasn't doing well. So they had high expectations. Okay, we need to turn this brand around, and we need to do something big. So I was nervous in the sense of like, okay, here I go. The person whose role that I was supposed to take, because it was a contract role, isn't here anymore. So I've got to learn this on my own. My boss at the time was traveling a lot back and forth to California, where head office was. But I will say the one thing that I did was I learned the business very, very, very quickly. And I think the one thing that I did that worked to my advantage was, because I was new to the role and because I didn't necessarily had experiences to what brand communication was, I started implementing things that we hadn't, or Mattel hadn't done in the past. Saying that I would go up to my coworkers or my colleagues and say, hey, what did you guys do before when it was in this situation or this campaign? And they would tell me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something completely different. And the reason I was doing something completely different was because I was like, I'm in this position where it's something new and I have the opportunity to start something fresh. So let's go that way. Some people might call it a gamble, but to me, it was like, to your point, I was excited and I was nervous, but I used my excitement to push me forward to something that could potentially be really, really, really good.
So it's really interesting to me that given a choice, a lot of people would have said, let me take the safe route and keep doing things the way they have been done in the past, right? And not rock the boat. You instead went and got advice from your colleagues. What did you do? How did you approach the problem? And using that advice, you did something completely different.
Yeah.
Why?
As cliche as this sounds, I mean, you got to stand out of the pack, right? Like Einstein says something about like, what is it if you do something over and over? It drives you. What is? I don't even remember what the phrase. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't recall.
Okay, I'm gonna have to figure it out and send it to you. But it's like, if you're doing something over and over, like, what's the benefit, right? Sure, if it's not broken, no need to
fix it.
Why fix it? But my thought process is like, hey, I'm coming in, brand new guy. This is my opportunity to shine, and this is my opportunity to stand out and tell them, hey, you know what? Good call on hiring me. And I will say this, that when I came in and I did completely new, something that Mattel had never done in previous years in terms of our campaigns and how we go to market. The program was so successful that it was, and I only launched it here in Canada, but it was so successful that when we launched it here in Canada, our global office, and this is what I was talking about earlier, that I was fortunate enough, as much as Mattel was a global company, I had autonomy and I could do my own thing. So I localized this program, and then our global offices caught wind of it, and they looked at it and said, wow, this thing is so good. We're going to adopt it, and we're going to adopt it globally, i.e., all the countries, all the regions across the world are going to start doing this. So that to me was like, take the chance, take the risk. I mean, obviously you want to outweigh the cost, the benefits, and the advantages and disadvantages. But if you have the opportunity to start fresh and do something that's going to be well executed and hopefully well received, then by all means do it. Be the change. And that's, again, I would not necessarily think of myself as the risk taker all the time. I'm sometimes a risk averse individual, but I think when the opportunity presents itself and you have that opportunity in front of you, then by all means, you should do it.
Then could you identify for us what were the key attributes or characteristics that made Aki successful in these first three jobs, moving from Loblaws to Walmart to Mattel?
Sorry, can you repeat the first part, Malik? You just cut out.
What were your key attributes?
Okay.
What were your characteristics that you believe made you as successful as you were?
Sure. 3 attributes that made me successful as I were. I think number 1 is open-mindedness. I'm a very, very rigid person. Like I'm all about consistency. I'm all about routine. Like if my routine is taken off track, I don't know how to adapt. But in terms from a professional standpoint, it's walking into one of these things and having a clean slate. And it's not about what you think, it's about what the organization thinks about you and how you can adapt. So I think the number one thing is having an open mind, going in, listening to other individuals, but still having the opportunity to present yourself in a manner that's going to make you stand out. Number two, especially if you're in a marketing position, you need to be very, very sociable. Not sociable as in like friendly, but no, you need to be approachable. So when I say sociable, it's like approachable. So, and it kind of goes with the first point of being open-minded, is that you need to be able to interact with individuals. You need to be able to allow yourself to understand people's emotions, people's thinking, their thought processes. And you know this, Malik, in a marketing world, if you're working with agencies, if you're working with larger brand, you know, whether it's a brand equity team or a brand activation team or a sponsorship team, it's all about collaboration. So you need to be able to relate to them, and they need to be able to relate to you, again, from an emotional standpoint, as well from a day-to-day personal standpoint. So mindedness, open-mindedness, sociability slash being adaptable. And I think the third part would be, or the third thing, sorry, not the third part, would be, you know what, I've been very fortunate where I've been creative. So if you have the opportunity to push the envelope, push the envelope. If you have the opportunity to think outside of the box, do it. Like there was one scenario where at my time at Mattel, I started off on the Barbie desk and then I moved over to the Hot Wheels desk. And I got moved to the Hot Wheels desk 5 months before the 2018 milestone that we were celebrating the 50th anniversary. Got moved to the desk and they said, Akram, you've got 5 months to activate something at the auto show. 5 months. Typically this would take about a year and a half of planning. And again, because we're a global company, globally there's a overarching message of what the campaign or what the big idea is going to be. And I remember having the conversation with them. I told them, hey guys, I need creative assets, I need style guides, I need talking points because I'm activating in April. Sorry, I'm activating in Feb. And they came back into me and told me, well, we don't have that information. That information is not going to be available until May. So I had to go against the grain and I had to be creative and I had to do something so that I can support my business here locally. Truth be told, I did ruffle a lot of feathers, but it was for the good of the company. It was for the good of the brand. And fast forward a year later, I was recognized, not just internally, but externally. I won the 2018 Best in Show Sponsorship Marketing Award. And then I was awarded a Silver Customer Experience at the Canadian Marketing Association Award, the CMA. So take the risk. And like, again, don't do it thinking that you are Superman and that you're not going to be harmed. No, there's going to be things and there's going to be, you know, cases where they're going to be attributed back to you and you're going to have to prove yourself as to why you did it. But don't stand still, stand out of the crowd and someone that can be different and rock the boat a bit.
Some incredible achievements at Mattel, recognition both internally and externally, but your tenure at Mattel comes to a unexpected end again. What happened there?
Oh man, what happened there? So the toy industry is a very volatile industry. We kind of started off at the end of 2017 where Toys R Us globally, or Toys R Us US, announced they're shutting their stores. So all the Toys R Us around the globe are kind of worried and they're unclear of what's going to happen. So there was a lot of commotion in the business, and Toys R Us made up about like 30% of the business. So you can imagine like the setback. So that happened, and unfortunately there were layoffs throughout, you know, the years and the months, and my time came to an end November of 2019. So let's call it 6 months ago. So 6 months ago I was laid off. So that's my second time being laid off. Just a fun fact. This is what I've been told, that throughout your professional career, on average, you get laid off 4 times. So I'm halfway there. So yeah, so I got laid off, and it happens end of October, beginning of November. So I'm in this position where I was like, well, nothing's going to happen between November and December. Like companies are shutting down, no one's hiring, no one is thinking about bringing someone on board right now. But this is an opportunity for me to make the connections. So what I did is I took November as an opportunity to reach out to individuals that I've worked with in the past, agency partners, people that I worked with back at Walmart, recruiters, to tell them, hey guys, this is the situation that has happened right now. I'm not necessarily looking to get back into working right away. However, you know what? Keep me in the back of your mind. Here's my resume. I actually want to take the next few weeks, and especially December, off to just digress from everything and just like enjoy the holidays, and we'll start fresh in January. So it was great. I had like many coffee dates and lunches and dinners and networking, and good opportunity. And then January comes around, and I'm applying for jobs, and I'm getting the interviews, and a few of them I was getting to, like I was coming to the end of it. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, the roles weren't coming to fruition. Like last round, and either the company went a different direction, or the role is no longer available, or the business went a different direction where now someone internally is going to take the role, or the role is being amalgamated with another role. So not going to lie, it was dejecting in the sense of like, man, I'm getting all these opportunities and nothing is coming. And again, I was trying, and this is all pre-COVID. Like this is just like, we're talking January, February, before everything happened. And then I told myself, I'm like, you know what? Like I can continue being in this like sad, upset phase indefinitely, or I can refresh. So I booked a trip to Mexico just by myself, went away for 5 days. So I left on March 6th. And then I came back on March 11th. It was the day I landed, and then an hour later, the NBA put out the statement that they're shutting down. So this was like right before like shit hit the fan with COVID. And then we all know what happened with COVID and layoffs and shutting down and this and this and this. But at the time, there were two companies that I had applied to right before I went to Mexico. One of them being Molson. So then Molson called me, and they said, hey, we've seen your resume and we want to interview you. I was like, okay, let's do it. First interview, and at this point there's no meeting, everything is virtual. So the first interview was me videotaping myself and sending my answers. The second one, I interviewed with two brand managers, so two people who would be part of my team, and it was a case study. So they provided me with like one of those Harvard Business Review case studies, and I had to present it to them. And then after that, I met with two other directors, had a conversation with them, and then I met with another director, and then they presented me the role. And again, it was a completely different role. It was a brand. So I'm currently the brand activation marketing manager. So I got to work on how do we activate the Belgian Moons and the MGDs and the Miller Lights and Star Prom and Coors and Molson. How do we activate those brands in a retail environment? I've never worked with the LCBOs or the beer stores or premises, like on premise with like Boston Pizza and etc. But again, these people saw my experience and they saw what I've done at Mattel. They saw that I had an in-store experience. So clearly I know how it works from an operational standpoint from a retail side. And again, going back to finance, this guy understands numbers. It's not all about like the glorious side of marketing, but he understands the fundamental of like, if you own a $20 million budget, you know how to use that budget and how to allocate those monies correctly. So yeah, I'm only a week into this role. It's been interesting to be onboarded virtually. But I will say that it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be. The team's awesome. Like I said, I'm working on some really, really, really cool brands, some really cool initiatives. Just like a lot of companies, they've had to pivot from their plans. But yeah, hopefully in the next few weeks, next few months, I'll be able to tell you, what I'm doing and what I'm working on. But very, very exciting. And again, completely new industry, completely new role. Yeah.
So lots to look forward to.
I hope so. And then when you and I are allowed to see each other, beers are definitely on me.
So what's your message to somebody who's graduating now, coming into the market? What are some of your key takeaways from your experiences that you would want to alert them to?
So I'm guessing that the industry, those who are graduating right now, they're having probably a hard time landing a job, whether it's an internship or a full-time gig. Listen, I know it sucks. I've been through it. Like I said, I've been through 2 layoffs. One was only a couple of, it was 2 weeks, and then I landed something, and then the last one was 6 months. But really, the light is at the end of the tunnel. And no matter, there's absolutely no reason for you to be dejected and think that it's personal. I think that's where a lot of people tend to go, is that they think that it's a personal thing, that they're not hiring me because of my qualities or my experiences or whatever. It's not that. It's never that. So make sure that that's completely off your mind. I don't know if this is going to help or not, but know that you're not alone. You're clearly not the only person who is going through this right now. I was telling you this earlier, things are slowly getting better. Sure, companies are not, a company like WestJet or Air Canada, they're not going to bring back all 15,000 people that they let go. But we're going to have to travel. We're going to have to get on planes. This stuff is going to have an end eventually. Knowing that you have the time right now, take advantage of it. And that's one thing that I did. Within the 6 months that I was off, I took advantage. I mean, it's different. I was able to travel, but obviously you can't travel now, but take advantage of it. Learn, pick up a book and learn something new. If you're just focused on marketing and marketing is the only thing that you want to do and you feel that way, great. Start picking up marketing books and learn. Take a class, take an online class, enroll that you typically won't do because it's out of your element. If you're a 3rd-year student going into 4th year, you know what? This is a good chance to take, to take a summer course. Get it out of the way. Keep yourself busy. I don't know, what else can I say?
And a related question, Aki, what would you say to a student who's starting university now? What should they learn from your university experience that they should ensure for themselves in their 4 years?
So my first year university, so I currently live in Mississauga, and I was in Mississauga during my years in university, and I was commuting back and forth. 2nd year, I was kind of commuting too, but because of all our exams being Friday night, Saturday morning, I would spend a lot of time at my friend's place or just sleep over. And it wasn't until 3rd year and 4th year that I lived on campus. But I used first year experience for my first year of university of commuting as just go to class and leave. Just go to class and leave. And I regretted that. And it wasn't until the end of 2nd year and all of 3rd year and 4th year, and this is when you and I became close, is where I got involved. So get involved in university. Do the things join the clubs, attend the sessions, get to know other professors, get to know other departments, be as visible as possible as you can. Because, and you know this, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And at the end of the end of 2nd year, again, it was fortunate because the way that 2nd year was structured is that we had 9 required and 1 elective. And we would literally walk out of that one class, and then we'd all go to the next class, and we'd all go to the next class, and we'd all go to the next class. So you got to build that camaraderie with knowing whoever was in your class. But it was at that point where I was like, you know what? It's not just about coming and learning and getting an education and leaving. No, it's about the experience. And I think sadly, a lot of people don't take the experience of university. So that would be my one message, is get involved. I was fortunate enough where I was part of the Group Marketing Association. So 3rd year, I was part of Frosh Week. 4th year, I led Frosh Week. And you remember Frosh Week, Malik. Remember, again, Frosh Week, I did something completely different. Never had we ever done sponsors, and never have we ever done a full faculty day where I brought in bouncy castles and a slip and slide and a DJ. Like, think outside the box, be different, get creative. This is your time to shine. So yeah, enjoy the 4 years of university, because they really are 4 or maybe 5 of your best years.
Well, thank you very much, Aki. That was a really inspiring conversation.
I hope that whoever is going to listen to this is not going to be bored or hate my voice, but thank you for having me, Malik. And I'll say this to the people who are watching this. I really, really, really enjoyed my time in DeGroote. Like I said, I didn't take a course from Malik until 4th year, and it was a sales course. And I only took it because there was no other class to take. And again, that was something that I didn't enjoy. I never enjoyed sales. But I'm like, I'm going to take sales because I want to have a class with Malik. But I got involved. I did the Mars apprenticeship with you. I was on the I was on the losing team, and I didn't get an internship. So there's another thing too. Like, it didn't work out. It didn't work out to my advantage in that point. But I managed to get something else later. And we just celebrated the 15th anniversary last year.
We did. Yes, we did.
The 15th anniversary last year, and I still support Malik, and I still support the team. Again, whoever is watching this, you guys have so many resources in front of you, and so many resources within Grad. So take advantage of it. Get to know your professors. Get to know your faculty. Even the ladies downstairs in the CBCD. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Career Center. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Jennifers and the Lories, like those people will come through for you. Like, spend the time, get to know them. Don't just go and get an education and leave. Have a good time and go and enjoy it and have parties, but don't let them affect your grades.
Thank you, Aki.
Thank you, Malik. Thank you, and good luck to everyone. And for those who are staying home, I mean, that's all of us. Continue to be safe, and this too shall pass, and we're going to be better and bigger than this. Just continue to wash your hands.
Take care.